Hello, Ken here. Gonna take a break from my series on legends, pioneers, competitors of the martial arts, and just take a quick moment to say thank you and an anecdote about a time where I taught karate, and thank you to a particular student and friend of mine. So, in mid 1992, I opened up a small karate dojo out of my garage/backyard, teaching on Edwards Air Force Base. And while I was there from early 91 until mid 1995, in which I would PCS to another base, I had many great students. And from time to time, I'm in contact with some of them, then you break contact and re back in contact with them. And I think about all the students I had then and what a glorious time period. And candidly speaking, at the time, you think you're the one imparting knowledge and wisdom and giving them something. And then as you get older, you start thinking back how they really gave you something and how I've learned much more from those students than I ever imparted to them, much more. And so I, can't highlight them all, but this one I want to highlight one of them, Curt Brooks. Curt Brooks started almost at the beginning when I started teaching there. I was a staff sergeant assigned to the law enforcement team there. I was a law enforcement specialist. Curt was also a law enforcement specialist. We're part of the security forces, United States Air Force. At the time, we were called security police. And I was a young staff sergeant, and we started working together. And all of a sudden, we started training together, and he started taking karate from me. But we had a lot in common, not only the martial arts, but we had comic books and movies and so many other things in common. But he was a really talented individual. In the martial arts, his biggest talent was really his guts. He would just keep fighting through. It didn't matter how tough it was, how hard the class was. He just kept persevering. And I look back now, and I was actually overly tough. Now, I think karate should be tough, but I'm young, I'm full of piss and vinegar, and I'm going to make everybody tough. And I'd competed some in Asia. And most people couldn't really do it that long and that hard. And he stayed with me the entire time. And it's just amazing. And as I travel around the world, I only know a couple people who probably were harder on their students than I was at that time. One of them is Soki Bobby Briggs. He's just phenomenal. He's one of the toughest people and instructors I've ever known, just amazingly tough. And he just stuck with it. He was so tough, and it didn't matter whether his progression was slow or fast at times. That's how it happens with all of us martial artists. We go fast and then slow and fast and slow. He hung in there, and he was just tough, just a tough guy. He was also extremely talented in many areas. He could act. He was a fine actor. He liked to be involved in plays and things. He was also a great singer. He won the base level competition and was sent to try out in Florida for Thompson Blue. That's an Air Force performing group, and he did very well. He didn't make it, but he did very well. And I remember going to watch him, me and another student of mine, Ernie, who was at the time, Ernie was my ranking student. And we went to watch, and he was by far the best performer of the evening. He could sing, he could dance, and he could make you laugh. He did all three of those things, entertained us in three facets with his voice, with his performance on stage, just a real performer, and his ability to bring out this enjoyment and laughter out of somebody. And it was just great. And he's also an artist. So after all these years, we've talked to each other off and on, usually by email, briefly on the phone a couple years ago. And I had got him something, been meaning to send it, and I reconnected to say, I got something to send to you. What's your current address? And so he asked me, hey, I made something for you. Would you like one of my artwork? And I said, sure. So I just have to show it, and it's just great. It's fun, and it's entertaining. So let me show it to you. So this is what he sent me. It's an original by Curt Brooks. He does a lot of artwork for people. But what's so great about it is it's a mixture between Bruce Lee, which he knew I was a huge fan. I'm still a fan, but back then I was a super big fan. Probably wasn't always rational about it either. And he was always a big fan of Sasquatch or Bigfoot. And so he put the Bruce Lee and the Bigfoot and kind of blended it together for me. So I can never forget about Kurt Brooks. And he put both of those things in together. And it's just terrific. The camera probably doesn't do it justice, but it's just awesome. It's a great piece of art. Has his signature here, a great background, and he's got Bruce Lee's pose from Enter the Dragon. And but he's also made it into Sasquatch or Bigfoot, which he's a big fan of. So it's just really, it gets me excited to know that I had a small impact, or he remembers to make something for me that involves some things about him and some things about me, and to send that to me. And I'm just so blessed because Kurt doesn't know it, as well as probably none of my students know it, but they have impacted me much more than I ever impacted them. And so I just want to get out there and say thanks. So thank you, Kurt, so much. And thank you to all the students I've ever had, whether it's been in a karate dojo or a seminar. I've been so blessed to have known you and worked with you. Wuss.